my own zone. So let me get there. I better turn that around. Don't ever want to offend anybody. You know, it's a family show. Okay, 5, 4. Hey, welcome, and thank you so very much for joining me on another episode of Talking Innovation. Now, you know, we've shifted up the name intentionally because, man, there's just so much exciting innovation going on, and it doesn't keep me pigeonholed in talking cloud. And come on, everything touches the cloud anyway. That's a no-brainer. It's really more about the exciting continuous changing, shifting, lurching sometimes, dynamic things that are happening in this industry. I just love it, and I love to have a chance to talk about it. And I've told you so many times, I'm just the Gilligan here, but I do seem to be very fortunate in finding some really brilliant people that are doing some amazing stuff. And of course, today, I've got Venu from Strobes. We're going to have an exciting conversation. Thrilled to have you here, Venu. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Grant. Really appreciate inviting me on your podcast. I'm glad that we did it finally. So, hello everyone. I'm Venu Rao. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Strobes Security, a Plano-based in Texas headquartered company, and been in the business for over a decade now.
Yeah, and so that's amazing. A decade, that's a long time in the space that seems to be one that's kind of emerging now, right? More relevant than ever. And that's the whole area of exposure management and staying on top of those exposures. It's never been more true. So you were just at an RSA, right? Walk the floor, and you're asking all the agentic remediation vendors the same question, right? What happens after the findings land, right? So what did the best answer you heard sound like, and who'd you get it from?
Well, this RSA has been really amazing for me. To be honest, I spent very little time on the floor, not even an hour, because majority of my meetings were outside the expo hall, in the coffee shops, the networking dinners, and so on and so forth. But to answer the question, in fact, that is the common question that I have asked to almost all the folks that I've met, right from CISOs to the security leaders to VP of engineering and all. That there are tons of tools out there to find the vulnerabilities, and you get a long list of vulnerabilities that needs to be addressed. So, how do you prioritize it, and what do you fix first? 9 out of the 10 folks that I had encountered with asked this question. Surprisingly, it's still the CVSS score that's dominating. That if it is CVSS 9 and above, we have to take it serious. And also, we know our crown jewels, and for our crown jewels, if the CVSS is 8 and above, or the assets that are under the compliance purview, the public facing assets that require some compliance thing, and the CVSS 9 and above vulnerabilities on such kind of assets, we will address first. So it's pretty surprising for me that the things have changed. Like I said, I've been in the industry for the last 10 years. I've seen the way things have evolved, majorly from the attack surface perspective, the way the scans are being done. But unfortunately, the prioritization and the validation has taken a backseat. That's what very, very surprising for me, and glad that things are changing now.
Yeah. Well, I think certainly anybody who is in this industry and has been watching, listening, has heard about Mythos, and that whole story, the capabilities, the functionality, the threat, the concern, that's right in the wheelhouse of what you're talking about. And I think specifically for years, we've been in an environment where we could say, hey, I got Swiss cheese, but, most of them are ones and twos. There's only a few fours. So I'll just worry about this one nine and everything, I'll not bother with any of the other holes. And, and I think what's going to happen, just like within the next few months, let's say, we're going to get a real smackdown because somebody's going to get that technology, those tools, that power, and they're going to start unleashing havoc, not on the highly protected, but anybody and everybody that isn't, because it will be so simple for them to find you.
100%, Brian. So, last few months have been really crazy in the AI space.
Yep.
So not just with respect to the security aspect, but the vibe coding that we have seen.
Remarkable, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, here's how I look at it, Venu. Imagine you're a 40-something-year-old guy. Am I close?
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine you're a 40-something-year-old guy. You went to university, got degreed, you're going to be a programmer, and you became a programmer. And you were good. Man, you were really good. You were kind of the shining star, the hotshot kid, man. Look at all that cool stuff he's doing. Man, the guy's sharp. Always on the edge with the cool new tools, always just have you seen this? Doing the most innovative things with UI and, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And you wake up and literally overnight, what you had, this skill that I'd pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for,
Right.
for somebody that good, right? And now it's a commodity. It's free. Anybody can do it. The difference is, I don't know if it works or not, right? But if I'm effectively using the tools, and if I know how to set up my persona and use terminal and get Claude Code go, what a game changer. So imagine how you feel.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a lot of you out there right now that are absolutely mortified that what they spent a lifetime and their entire career building,
Boom.
anybody can do it, or nearly anyone. But what I do find surprising, Venu, is how few people are. It's such a small, super subset of the knowledge workers in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even just simply how many are using AI and have an AI first mentality. Dude, I love it. I use it all the time. I believe in it. I'm like pushing my kids, my wife. My kids get pissed at me, because I'm always saying, you should check what Claude says. You should go to Gemini. You should. I'm a big believer, but it does introduce some interesting threats on the side that we're talking about when you talk about mythos, because they'll find any hole. Yeah. And like water, be able to get in, right?
Absolutely, Glenn. So that's a very good point. As such, from software engineering, it is prompt engineering, is what I feel. If you know how to prompt the right way, you get the best output. Okay. So gone are the days where you take months to build an application or roll out a mobile app. It's now just a matter of a day or two to get the right output that, I want to start a business. I want a restaurant booking app. Hardly takes 2 days for you to roll out that thing.
Yeah. And it's yours, just for you. And you can talk it through and say, my mom is the one who takes the reservations. And so we need bigger buttons, and boom, it's done. It's remarkable.
Absolutely.
But, you made a comment, And one of the things I wonder about is if companies, because it's so associated with what we do every day, just talking. It's just, it's no different writing an email. That we're not exercising the education on how to effectively prompt.
Yep.
To understand that each model has its own nomenclature, that, like its own dictionary, that there are words it prefers to hear, how to call out skills, how to really, use the tools effectively. I feel like a lot of people are still kind of just saying, show me a duck with a green head, you know.
I know bananas.
Yeah, exactly. They're having fun with it, but uh, I don't know. Are you seeing? Is there a lot of? It seems like there's lots of interesting happenings in your world, utilizing, leveraging AI. Why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason I brought up this vibe coding is because that's a hot topic today, and people are going bonkers and using Verse, or using other platforms in building like Lovable and all, to build their different kind of applications and all. It's good the way technology is shaping up. It's good that anyone can build applications and all. But what about security? The way the application development pace is now at a rocket speed, is your security is also at the same speed?
Yeah.
If not, then you're in a big soup. And that's what happened. Yesterday Versal got attacked. I think it's a big breach, Versal, and today people are talking about Lovable data leak. So all these things gonna happen. So
Yeah, I saw one on. I just saw. Ox Security identified what they claimed was a vulnerability, a bug within Anthropic MCP,
uh-huh.
and Anthropic came back and said, "No, it's a feature, not a bug," right? And essentially pushing it back on the developers. But I think that's a perfect ecosystem where lots of shit can go wrong.
Great.
Right? Lots of mistakes can occur because it's so easy to go, hey, now I can have him connect to him, and
Yeah.
there you go. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right?
Absolutely, Grant. And also, the way from vibe coding perspective, wherein you have those models that help you in building applications. Similarly, on a security side, there are so many open LLM models out there that you can use or leverage to do pen testing, or a black box pen testing on public
Yep,
facing assets. Now,
totally.
now imagine that you're giving the power to the bad actors. What they're going to do? They leverage these LLMs, they run those pen test scans, they find the vulnerabilities and ask for bounties or ransomwares or whatnot, right?
Yep.
So, in both ways, building applications is at rocket speed. Similarly, these LLMs are giving the power to these bad actors. A college dropout today can, a school dropout, forget about college,
Yeah.
dropout can pick up one of those LLMs and run some scans on public facing assets,
Yeah.
some cool vulnerabilities, reach out to them saying that, hey, I got this. If you pay me, I'm going to tell you exactly, what's the issue.
Yep.
So things are going to be very crazy, thanks to this AI revolution. And that's where, companies like Strobes, we come in and we help our customers. Do not wait for things to happen. You have to make it happen. Make sure that security is a part of your culture and not just a checkbox.
Yeah, yeah, there's no question. I think there's never been a time um, where just understanding the hyper interconnected world that we're in, and appreciating the ability to move. Just lateral movement, hopping here to there from one gateway to the next. I mean, this whole system is designed to enable that interoperability, but because we've approached it in the beginning like it was Woodstock, Come on, man, free love, clothing optional, right? And now we're saying, oh, I'm sorry, it's the opera. You have to have a ticket stub, and you have to have the right clothing, and sit in the right seat, and have the right behavior and protocol. And oh, by the way, we want all of these changes, but we don't want to land the plane. So let's just keep flying and do this on the fly. And what exacerbates, I think, the environment are technologies like AI
Mhm.
that aren't vertical but are truly horizontal in their impact, in their potential, in both good and bad. Like all technology, that the bad guys can use it for nefarious if we use it for good. But this is different. This is different because now anybody with a little bit of gray matter can instruct what they want. And
Yep.
that does get somewhat frightening. So, this whole mythos thing, I'm just curious, in the world right now, who's the most exposed?
I mean, that's a tough question, Grant. Who's most exposed as an uh, so
Like, I guess, big companies, small companies, any companies using technology, period. I mean, where do you see the greatest threats and risks where we need to constantly and continuously be monitoring?
no, I mean, so I generally say one statement to majority of my team members and all is that anything and everything that is online can be hacked. Okay, as simple as that. If you're online, that means there is a software, there is some servers, there are some cloud instances, something or the other that's running on it, and that can be hacked. So it's not that how it's just a matter of time, Grant. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if your defenses are strong today, probably you're not easily be hacked. But if your
Mm-hmm.
defenses are not strong, then it's just kind of a fight between the bad actors and the good actors. How good that these guys are defending, and these all the bad actors just need one entry point to get in and compromise. So it's always that the good actors have to win every battle. But the bad fellows, they just need one battle to win, and that's it.
So you said earlier, I think, Strobes has been around 10 years.
Yeah, so we started our journey as we started in 2016 as a consulting company. Okay, we
Okay. Yeah, that's where I was going. Is I wanted to go back because continuous threat exposure management, I don't think, was even a term. So talk to me about that journey where you evolved. And I'm particularly interested in instances where you had to stay in your lane, right? Where there was this allure to maybe drift into some other directions. Talk a little bit about your evolution.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in 2016, we started as a consulting company, the brand name called We Secure App, because we were very much inclined towards application security. So We
Okay.
Secure App was a brand name, and we were doing pen testing, code reviews, and all those things back then. And we slowly moved up the value chain, not just application security assessments, but we started the network pen testing, red teaming, cloud security assessments, and so on and so forth. So we were completely into the offensive security space from day one, and we never deviated nor digressed into some other domain or added anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So our core foundation has been offensive security. So we have done tons of security assessments for different kind of applications, network and cloud for global customers. And during the pandemic was kind of a time wherein we realized that if we have to scale, we just can't continue to do our consulting. And we identified a lot of other problems that we can solve in the offensive security space, especially in the vulnerability management. And that's where we pivoted during the pandemic, and post pandemic we released our first platform, that is PTAS, Pen Test as a Service, wherein we were doing pen testing, reporting, and management platform, automating all the operational stuff. We didn't stop our engineering there because that was just a small piece of our vision. So while delivering the PTAS services, we were addressing the larger problem of prioritization of vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Then, we built risk-based vulnerability management platform. And the fans of offensive security, we really wanted to build offensive security platform, like something like the XDRs and the MDRs you see out in the defensive world. There is nothing as such in the offensive. So we really wanted to build something on those lines, but Gartner came up with this terminology in 2022 called CTEM, which is continuous threat exposure management, that 90% aligned with what we envisioned.
Mm.
We thought, okay, when Gartner said, that means it makes a lot of sense, and let us align with it. 5 different stages of CTEM, and we built it. So in 23 is what we have repositioned ourselves as Strobes CTEM company. And last year we introduced our AI agents, and that's how we became an AI CTEM platform.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So elaborate a little bit on the architecture and the agent base that you just referred to, and tell me a little bit more about what do you just deploy a bunch of agents out throughout my network, or how's that work?
No, I mean, I'll just give you an example of pre-agent and post-agent, like how did we transition again in the AI era. So first, as a risk-based vulnerability management platform, our goal was to aggregate the vulnerabilities from various sources. So that includes Qualys, Tenable, Rapid7, checkmarks, Veracode, and so on and so forth. So we suck all the vulnerabilities, and then we do the prioritization based on multiple parameters like asset context, whether it is a public-facing asset or an internal asset, whether it is a
Yep.
crown jewel or not, then exploitability of the vulnerability, EPSS score, and so on and so forth. So with those parameters, we prioritize the vulnerabilities, and then we have integrations on the other side that includes the ITSM platforms like Jira, ServiceNow, and all. And the high
Mm-hmm.
prioritized vulnerabilities, we create tickets and send it to the respective asset owners, or the people responsible for patching. So
Right.
that was like pre-AI era, and now
Mm-hmm.
with AI, you create AI agents, and like for example, Grant is the vulnerability management analyst. Venu is a risk and compliance analyst. Like that, you create agents and you define what the agent's roles and responsibility is. Like for example, okay, there is one agent whose job is to continuously monitor the attack surface and find out if there are any new assets that are not scanned in the last 2 weeks. Then
Mm-hmm.
you push it to, you trigger a scan automatically saying that, hey, identify these 5 public facing assets that requires a scan, then scan is triggered. Once the scan is triggered, then, you get those vulnerabilities. Then the security analyst job is to, that is the AI agent. What I mean is that agent's job is to do the prioritization, and then that goes to an AI PT agent wherein it does the validation. So
Mm-hmm.
all the high prioritized vulnerabilities is validated using attack path validation, AI pen testing, and so on and so forth. And then the patch management analyst will help with the patch level coding. What code snippets should be used to fix the vulnerabilities, or what needs to be updated to fix those vulnerabilities, and so on and so forth. And then the GRC analyst. So like that, initially it was kind of an automation. Now it is
Mm-hmm.
AI agents that are working in tandem, communicating with each other to perform all these tasks with the end goal of helping the team to fix the right set of vulnerabilities that impacts their business.
Right, right. Now, is there a back end LLM, or is it a calling the chat or Claude or whatever you want through APIs? How's that work?
So yeah, so we use majority of anthropic models, and now
Mm-hmm.
we're coming up with get your own model kind of a model.
Yep,
Right.
yep,
For now, our the entire engine is on Anthropic models. We are on AWS. We use Bedrock. Uh,
yep.
so yeah, I mean, also the beauty of the way that we have architectured Grant is that for not all tasks are being run on Opus 4.7 or so. So it understands the complexity of the task, and accordingly it will pick up, Sonnet or Opus, and that's how we are actually even conserving the credit usage consumption for our customers, optimizing the costs, because ultimately,
Mm-hmm.
how these AI agents work, right? The
Right, right.
credit consumption and so on and so forth. So we are optimizing even that. to ensure you get better results at a lower cost.
So talk to me a little bit, because this is interesting. I've seen this lately, because it seems like there's some interesting things happening in the world of software and pricing. In particular, environments like yours, where I've got this really cool new thing, but it's also ticking the meter. Who's paying for the meter? And that's forcing modifications to how you're paying for it, and what you're paying for, and is it outcomes versus the actual performance that I mean, talk to me a little bit about that and what you see going on.
That's a very good point and definitely debatable topic. But we have very limited data points today.
It's tough. I mean, I've heard of just some wild new different ways of pricing, and I see it kind of as what we have happening right now is this crazy clash of what I already spoke about. You're an engineer for 25 years. You've just mastered. You're making 400K a year working for some big company, and then, hey, we're letting you go because we're using Claude Code or whatever, right? I mean, that dichotomy hitting the market simultaneously, I think when you wrap in the fact that I still need those tokens, I still need the crack.
Yeah.
Whether you've wrapped the crack up into something that is really cool, or if I'm just going straight to the dealer, I got to pay for the crack. And so it's just an interesting, dynamic that's not yet settled, I believe, in terms of how pricing really is going to bear out in the coming weeks, months, years.
Yeah,
What do you think?
100%, Grant. Now today, with our operational expenses, our cloud bills, our the consumption of anthropic models that we primarily use. So we are keeping a close watch on these numbers. It's fascinating that we have seen that the expenses have gone by 2x to 3x over last 6 months. Because obviously our development team uses, our security team uses it.
Yeah.
I mean, these costs are going like crazy, and our team comes back to us saying that the credits are done, the tokens are done. We need more. It's as if
yeah. It's funny, right? It's like you used to think your AWS charges were increasing, right? Welcome to the new world, because it's a double whammy, right? Because what happens is they lure you into, hey, Opus 9.6 is coming. Now it'll use 100 times the tokens, but your shoes will be shined in the morning before you wake up. It's going to be it's going to be so compelling. Yep. We always want to chase after that amazing new capability, but it's just, man. And the real interesting MBA class case study is, how does someone like OpenAI or Anthropic, or pick your poison, their model to make money when they're just devouring power.
Yeah.
And power isn't free. It's just fascinating the multiple dynamics that are occurring economically, globally. I just saw a show. What show was this on? It was fascinating, and it was this guy who's created these. Maybe you've heard of them. These huge buoys that go in the ocean. And they just bob up and down with the water,
whatever
but
it is.
it pushes the water up through the shaft and therefore creates the energy.
Yes.
It's essentially a data center in the ocean, and you have multiples that all point up to the same satellite. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Google and Meta both have come up with these tech of building data centers in the oceans to leverage the hydroelectricity and cooling of the servers and so on.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. I mean, like, we're gonna see a lot of things more.
Crazy innovation. It's the innovation. It's just so exciting.
Yeah.
And I think what's also happening, and we've seen this, I've spoken about this on the program, where AI is discovering things we didn't know about, materials, compounds, right?
Yep.
And I attribute it to we're limited. We're somewhat myopic in how we look at things, how we solve things. I mean, it's just as much as we like to think we're free spirited and have the ability to look full 360 degrees spherically, if you will, around a problem, we
Hmm.
really don't,
Yeah.
like AI does. And I think that it's really enabling some remarkable discoveries, capabilities. Super exciting. I wish it wasn't so old.
Yeah, absolutely, Grant. But I think, yeah, I mean, like, the way AI is using the energy and all, it's gonna be crazy in the coming months and years. I think we need to leverage nuclear power to really support the demand of the
I
AI.
I think you're exactly right. I think that's another area. There's been a tremendous amount of innovation. These portable nuclear power plants that companies have been innovating on it, and I just find, I'm still waiting for the breakthroughs in power. And the comparison I heard, which I thought was fascinating, was the amount of energy your brain uses
Hmm.
compared to the equivalent capability in AI, right?
Right.
Which it takes a whole lot more power,
Absolutely.
So, there's a pretty good design in there somewhere. It's I just think fascinating how we'll wrestle down some of these challenges, because they'll get wrestled down, right? Somebody's going to come up with something, whether it's creating innovative ways to create power or some new breakthroughs that enable capabilities with less power. Um, but it'll undoubtedly be driven by AI, right?
No doubt on that.
So let's talk a little bit about where things are going, because it seems like, and I'd love to hear your perspective, Venu. AI is everywhere. We're hearing about it all the times, but the industries, there's a few select industries that's seemingly having a profound impact, but one, the impact doesn't seem to be greater than cybersecurity. I mean, it really is just quite remarkable. And I'm talking about the impact it's having on all of us, you, us, the vendors in the space.
Mhm.
This is not like anything we've ever contended with in our lives. And oh, by the way, combine that with earlier comments about vibe coding, and anybody can make code. It's changing the game quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, see, AI for cyber or cyber for AI, cybersecurity. I see. I see that the threat's gonna go multifold, Grant. Not just from a corporate standpoint, even as an individual. We have seen, different kinds of phishing attacks on individuals or
Yeah.
executives, and all. So all these risks gonna go multifold. You will see different kinds of new type of risks will be coming up. Like the vishing has been there for ages, but now with audio cloning, video cloning, it's very hard to use the idiom like seeing is believing. I don't see
Yep.
that gonna be there in the future. In fact, today, because what we see today, it may be true, it may not be true because of the
Yep.
AI, right?
Yep.
So not just corporates, but even individuals at a personal level are being impacted by this. A lot of crimes happening, a lot of attacks on their mobile phones, and using different technologies, using different attack scenarios. All these things are happening. So I'm very concerned about, not more than enterprises. I'm more concerned on the executives. I'm more concerned on the C levels or the VP level, the director, on the personal level.
Hmm.
What kind of compromises could go wrong, and what is that they need to pay as a ransom. So very scary situations and scenarios that I foresee in the future. But you talked about AI is everywhere, but what is that one industry where you see a little impact or more impact? But what I see is from a cybersecurity standpoint, Grant, and AI governance perspective and all those things. So the cybersecurity business and the governance risk compliance business will grow at a very fast pace because, as I said, even small size companies, they have to invest in security because
Hmm.
there is no escape for them as well. In fact, they are easy prey or easy targets for the hackers because
Yep.
they use different AI driven technologies, vibe coding, and they're online, they're doing business, they have their payment gateways, they have their customers' data, but if they don't secure it, they're
Yep.
gone. Right. So, more so ever, security, cybersecurity, AI governance will be the top notch industries because of the thriving of AI in
Yep.
every spectrum.
Yeah. I agree. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, you know, from my perspective, I mean, I helped open an Apple dealership in '83, okay, 6 months before Apple released the Mac.
Oh,
So I've been around. And ever since then, the very first time I saw Multiplan, which is what I saw before I saw Lotus 123, and then ultimately Excel, is it didn't matter who, it didn't matter what computer, the formula was exactly the same every time. That's why we loved it and we used it for audits and for financials and forecasting, right? Because it was deterministic. Name me one CFO on the planet that would use a spreadsheet that each time you say calculate, the answer would be different. There's not one.
yeah.
But we now have a technology where the business outcomes are so compelling, so amazing, so remarkable that CEO is telling the CFO, yes, we will use that probabilistic solution. So, how does that get reconciled in an industry where for years we were able to set it, audit, see you next month, Venu. Yeah, hey, since last month, everything looks good except this. Somebody must have changed this. But that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, it's different in 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
So, how does that get reconciled in the world of governance?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Gone are the days wherein you get these audits done yearly once, you get the certification, and that's valid for 2 years or 3 years.
Right. I mean, can you say Sarbanes Oxley? I mean, or just think about before WorldCom and Enron, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we are right at the precipice of exactly the same thing because we have agents that are out doing stuff. And as much as we've built them and designed them to be deterministic, if they're still leveraging a probabilistic environment, there is still wiggle room, right? I mean, my analogy is for the last 5 decades, we've been building our houses on rock foundations,
Yeah.
and now they're houseboats.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit different. And so it's going to be, to me, very interesting over the next few years, because it seems like there's lots of legislation that's coming out. EU AI Act, Colorado's got one, California's got one,
Even
all
Texas.
saying, yeah, I mean, they're all talking about continuous.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right? So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few years, but certainly your space is seemingly white hot right now, no?
Yeah, as you rightly said, it's continuous. It's never a one-time thing now. Gone are the days. It's continuous threat exposure. It's continuous AI governance.
Well, I mean, it used to be kind of, hey, do a snapshot of my vulnerability management, my vulnerability exposure, give me an audit, right? A pen test, whatever.
Right.
And that's what's changed, right? We moved from this static to one that's constantly evolving and moving.
Absolutely. I've seen that in the last 6 months, Grant. Back then it was like, one-time pen testing for a compliance need, but now I'm seeing in the last 6 months there has been tremendous demand for our AI pen testing credits because it is continuous and on demand. So they really do not want to wait for a year to get one round of pen testing just for the sake of compliance. They realize the importance of continuous and on-demand pen testing, ensuring that all their public-facing assets being scanned thoroughly, pen tested thoroughly, and they fix all those loose ends. So we are seeing it. We are witnessing it with our customers itself. We were able to upsell a lot of AI PT credits because of all this wipe coding, and not just wipe coding. Even these developers, they use Cloud Code, build some fantastic features, roll out every day new features. So you just can't wait for a year to get these pen tests done, right? So
isn't it? I have to tell you, I find it fascinating how in the very early days, and I know I'm talking about 100 years ago, it seems, but 1.0, and then it was a year later before you heard about 2.0,
Okay.
right? And there would be these intermittent, maybe you'd have a 1.5 that might come out that had some, but it was not often. And then you started to see these 1 dot something, right, where they were stratifying the build so that 1 was really significant. The second digit, you had to have something meaningful, but if it was a 1.03, you better do it because it's a bug we fixed, right? I mean, that was kind of what you understood in terms of how that nomenclature evolved. But the time, right? And we got into this very accustomed, very regular cadence. When's the new version coming? And oh, they're working on it. We're hoping to have a beta. And right, you had these long cycles. Yeah. And then that whole SDLC process changed with the cloud.
Yep. Yeah.
And for all of a sudden, people were saying, hey, have you logged in this morning? Look, it's different, right? No version warnings, no notifications, because we got into a point where UIs were so intuitive, so simple, and you immediately, oh man, now that's cool. You're using it before you read any documentation, but more to the point, now the dev cycle was when there's something cool, let's push it, right? Oh man, that's great. Did you check it? Did it run through QA? Yeah, commit it. Let's push it, right? I mean, the movement is just so different. Now, it's off the hook. What used to literally take months and months, you as an individual can do in an afternoon.
Absolutely.
If you just sit down and are rigorous and diligent, and you stay at it, and I wonder how many do you think a lot of people are doing that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, relative to, because when I go through life, I mean, right now, I'm in, if I looked at my life as an egg in the frying pan, right? I'm in the yolk right now, right? But there's a whole lot more white
Yeah.
that hasn't got a clue about what's going on in the yolk. And in fact, my egg is a robin's egg with the whites from an ostrich. I mean, I have so much in my life that people don't even know what I do or anything about what I do. And so that's what I mean. I'll guarantee you my neighbor doesn't use AI. I mean, I'll guarantee it. He's tried it a couple times. Now he's an older guy. My neighbor this side, maybe, but I really wish I had accurate data that said out of the population, N% is really exercising AI with purpose. X% is using it for a glorified search engine and recipes with the stuff they have in their refrigerator, and the rest are all asleep at the switch. Where can I find that number? I don't know if you can find it.
No, I mean, again, we need to talk about the penetration of this AI at an individual level. Grant, like rightly said, I think Google. We will say that initially we used to say Google it. Now we say Claude it or
Yeah,
Power AI it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that consumer pattern's gonna change the way they search, and that's the reason why we talk about AEOs and GEOs rather than SEOs these days, right?
Right.
Because the consumers, they tend to go to AI to ask any question, as a matter of fact, right? So in that way, the AI has taken the shape, and there's tremendous increase in the adoption of this Claude, Gemini, and so on and so forth, ChatGPTs over there.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to corporates, like you talked about, shipping of features from 1.0 to 2.0 used to take ages in past life, but today, in few hours, you will see some new features, being rolled out. Even in my company, I see, I was like baffled when I saw few UI things when my CTO presented it. I was like, wow, this is like insanely different from what I've seen a few days ago,
Yeah.
because of the new updates and all. So yes, one thing is DevOps changed with respect to the speed of development, but now with Cloud Cowork Cloud Code and the other LLMs out there, the speed is now at a next level, right?
It
You're
is.
shipping features day in and day out,
Yep.
and so obviously, when you're doing that, security has to be a part of your development lifecycle. This has been an age-old statement. That's the reason why there is DevSecOps or application security posture management. Integrate your SAST and DAST into your development pipelines. All these things, was a pattern a
Yep.
few years ago, but now it is kind of mandatory. You need to ensure if you're
Totally.
shipping out some cool features today, do not wait for it to go live and then do some testing, right? So
Amen. Yeah. And
100%.
and and I think in that same regard, and I think that this may be an advantage. Well, I know it's an advantage for someone like yourself, for your teams. The tools combined with your knowledge and understanding of the development process, combined with your knowledge and understanding of uh, uh, when to run a full rigorous QA, when in the build process to pause and do a pen test, a code review,
Right.
because I think what sometimes people do is, if they've never been in the software business, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is cool. And they go from, end zone to end zone and never think once about checking the code. And to your earlier point, uh, these Cloud Code AI, they're not the cleanest, most efficient, using the very best optimal code, and you'll end up getting a lot of garbage and a lot of glut. And what's the term? There's some AI term for the code, slump code, or I can't remember. But that's I think it does make a big difference if it's your business, and it's very similar to, I'm going to date myself again. 100 years ago, there was this company that came out of Seattle called Aldus, and they had a product called Aldus PageMaker.
Okay.
And it only ran on a Macintosh. In fact, the first Macintosh it ran on was the 512K Mac. That was how much memory it had. And the only way you could run it was on these little 400K floppy disks, micro diskettes. And you were flipping back and forth because it was paging off the document and then grabbing the additional instructions on how to do something. It was amazing how, because there was no hard drive in the Mac in those days. My point was, PageMaker was the first product, and it later got bought by Aldus, by Adobe. But it was the first product where you could create a compound document, a column of text that would wrap around a graphic image that you place, right? So you could do menus and newsletters and everything that is like in your most basic text editor today. But let me tell you what, brother, in 1985, 6, this was like blow your shit away, unbelievable. And there was all of this concern about, oh my God, Venu and his design firm, he's going to be out of business because anybody can buy this program and do it.
Right.
And in fact, what happened was it just made your skill as a designer all that more valuable and better, because I don't know what I'm doing. And so I've got every font you can imagine, and up big ones and small and bold and italic. And, when I hand it to my customers in my restaurant, they throw open their mouth because it's so gross and busy. But I don't know that because I think it looks really cool. Look at all the fonts you can, right? So I think there's some similarity there in the accessibility does not necessarily equate with superiority or fantastic business outcomes, right? Just because you can get to it doesn't mean you're going to be really good at it.
Yeah.
And almost, I wonder if it raises the awareness of how good it is when you understand the job.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, things have changed. You're talking about 100 years ago, a past life, Brian. Now, what we see today. In fact, there are a couple of memes going on. Claude Anthropic releases a new version today, and probably 2 days later, they upgrade it with another version, right? So in 2 days, a company like Anthropic coming up with a new model, it's not a joke, right? It's happening. So, we I'm getting my own.
Sorry, I don't know why my mute is come on again. Is it back on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm able to hear my own voice, Brian.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I switched to, hang. That was my bad. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're getting near the end anyway, so I can finish out. I don't know why my speakers, I lost my speakers. So here.
I think Uh, I'm
I
just
got it.
testing it. Yeah, now it's fine.
Yeah, what was happening is it just decided to fall off of my microphone and then came back out of my Mac speakers. And so you were hearing it because my microphone was still working, but I've got this
I understand.
for, so
Sure.
anyway. Um, Hey, I
Yeah.
guess, at this point, I can just tell you how much I appreciate, it'll be fun because the recording will have switched sides
Oh,
as we have now. So people will go, what the heck happened? But hey, I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with me today. I thought it was very interesting, very enjoyable. And it was great to hear about Strobe and the journey you guys have been on and what you guys are up to. So thank you. Thank you, Venu, very much.
oh, thanks, Rand. Thanks for this opportunity. It's lovely talking to you. Pleasure to be here, and we can have a lot of conversations around the same topic.
Yeah, well, it's going to be ongoing for a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, check out Strobes. It's STROBES.co,
That's right.
right? Just making sure I got that one right. Pretty cool product, and really appreciate you being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I always just love having spontaneous conversations with really thoughtful leaders from the industry. We got a lot of exciting innovation going on, and certainly Venu and Strobes is on the forefront of that. So thanks so very much. If you like it, please share it, tell your friends, subscribe, keep coming back, and we'll look forward to having you on the next episode of Talking Innovation. Thanks so very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. And stop.